We're here in Copenhagen, where we've been to the Open Mind Conference, and I've met a beautiful, beautiful soul who's by the name of Louise.
Thank you. Lo mismo digo. The same, I have to say the same.
Louise is one of the organisers here at the Open Mind Conference. Let's talk about what the intention is behind the project, why you brought it here.
Yeah, I have to clarify, rather than actually organising the Open Mind Conference, I've been invited, or I think I probably kind of elbowed my way in, really, to speaking this year about the Full Circle project, which is, as you're probably aware, it's an idea whose time has come, I think, initiated or first spoken about by Max Egan. I seem to recall he spoke about the Full Circle project perhaps 2 years ago now on his regular podcast that he does. And I think as soon as I tuned into that, I was aware that it really activated something within me. It made sense. And the Full Circle project is speaking, I think, to that common sense in everyone, about reminding people of what we all have. You know, a certain level of knowledge, a certain level of common sense. You know, that what is that common factor that we all have? I mean, I know it doesn't appear like we all have common sense, but somewhere we do.
The Full Circle project, for somebody who knows nothing about it,
Yeah.
what's it about?
Okay. It's many things at once, and I'm never quite sure where to start. But I'll have a go with the circle itself, because I think the principal thing this represents is community. So the project is working towards bringing community back into, or rather unity back into community. That means your area where you live. That doesn't mean an alternative community or anything other than where you live or your neighbourhood. However shape or form that might take, it's where you live, where you are. You don't have to go off halfway around the world searching for somewhere. This is about doing what you can from where you are now, because that's important. Otherwise we're constantly moving around searching for something.
So would it be right in saying that you're trying to create the change from the bottom rather than the top?
Yeah, definitely.
Being at the ground rather than just hoping things are going to change for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's about us, you know, not in any selfish way, but it's about you. It's about
So it's about connecting people within their communities.
That's the principal thing. When we wake up to certain realizations, however we do wake up to more realities other than the one that we've had placed in front of us, we can often feel isolated or a bit nutty. You know, friends and family and so on will start reacting to us differently because we're changing. Because of this sense of isolation, people feel a tendency to either, you know, want to wake others up, you know, but don't you know, haven't you seen what I see, you know, and because of the reaction they probably get to that, they shut down. So then they become more isolated. So we recognise that that's a common problem that people face, or part of the process you need to go through. But in connecting and using a means to connect to other people who may be in a similar frame of mind or on a similar track, then you can really start expanding again. You know, you can go from contraction to expansion, and then you can find ways of perhaps transmitting the information, the knowledge, or your visions, or whatever it is that you want to give back to the world. You can find a way of doing that, perhaps in a more gentle way, so that people receive what you're saying and listen to you. So again, it's a process of being supported. I've gone off track, haven't I? Because I was going to tell you about what was on the website.
No, I'm enjoying this. This is insightful for me. It's just making me think about how the internet's created so much change. It's giving people the ability who are waking up to speak to people and find sources of information that is resonating with them. You know, and before the internet, people might have actually been started to believe they were a bit crazy, you know. And really, they're just different to everyone else, and they've woken up to different ways of thinking.
Yes.
So that's what I was thinking right there about the internet. So thank you.
Well, it is a network, isn't it? It is a network, but of course we know it's how it's used as well. You know, it's all like everything. It's kind of open to interpretation. and it's depending on the intent of what you're investing, where you're putting your time and energy on the internet, where it's going. I mean, the more we look at social networks, the more we can see that there's always good there, but where is this influence? What's creeping in? Where is it being taken? Where is that energy that you invest in that network? Where's it being drained? Is it being drained? Is it being utilised in the end for something of real benefit? Or are you being used by it? Whatever it is, Because
it goes back to intentions. What's the intention behind using it,
Yeah. So the intention behind the Full Circle project is actually helping. I mean, this is a big leap now, but I know I can go there with you. But it's actually, the intention behind it is to remind people of who they are. Nothing more, nothing less. But of course, like always, the process is quite lengthy. It can be quite lengthy to get there.
So it's a way of just letting people know that, or helping people find others in their community who think like they do.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
That's the first step of a process. Everything seems to be a process.
So that's step one.
That's step one. Stage one.
Stage
Stage one is link up. Find people in your area that have something in common, and that commonality may well be something as simple as a need to know, a willingness to explore, a willingness to ask questions. What's happening? Who am I? Where are we going? What can I do? What's my purpose? Or it could be as simple as I've got a problem with the local council. Can anyone help? Any kind of question really automatically invites people to get together. You find someone through, if you can't actually go next door and speak to your neighbour, and these days I find less and less people able to do that they can actually physically go and speak to someone face to face. They'd actually rather, we could be sitting here and I could be asking you.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I've been in a room with friends and just texting across the room. It's like, what are we doing here?
It's worth asking this question, isn't it? What are we doing here? Because we're certainly not here.
Exactly.
We're being absorbed into this screen. We really are, actually. That's really taking our energy away from where we need to be and making us fear, an even simple interaction. But that's another area. We don't need to perhaps go there right now.
Yeah.
Keep on track with the
I actually still find myself doing that in social situations, like just being connected to technology when you could actually be talking to somebody. It's something I think we all get caught in still if we're not aware of it. So.
Yeah, this stuff is subtle, it's like it creeps in slowly and it looks so amazing, and so much of it is, the new technology. This is me speaking now. I mean, I'm 50, so it's it's very new still to me. It's not that I've been born into it, like, many, like you would have been done, I'm sure, born into that world. So I'm on that kind of, bridging the gap there between not having had anything beyond the phone box on the corner of the road, which was quite an event.
Must be a trip.
No, I can smell it now.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It was this is going to make you laugh, but for me as a child, growing up in the Midlands where I did, in Loughborough, if my mum or my dad asked me to go and make a phone call, or I needed to make a phone call, which was rare in itself, and why would you do that? I would take a walk. I'd have to go out. You think about this. I'd have to go out, take a walk down the street to the phone box, maybe wait for someone, not go in, and I can smell this, that red pillar box with the phone. I can smell the smell. And when I sort of picked up the receiver, it would, it was so like, oh, it's so smooth, and I wondered who'd picked it up before me.
Yeah.
And then this sort of process of dialing. And the ticking it with on the dial as it went, marking the number, and then you'd have to wait for it to come all the way back, and then it would be like, now this one. If you made a mistake, you had to start all over again. I was okay, but there was no frustration in that. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to make a call, and there's another call here, and let's do this when I'm doing that. And it was like, wow, look at this, look at the dial. Sure, because it was a novelty, but it was also. It had its own time. It took time to dial a number.
Yeah,
do you see what I'm saying?
No room for multitasking, doing different things at once, which is now what we have. people on the phone, people on the internet, people.
So
doing
much
lots of things.
distraction.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
You're everywhere. You're scattered. You're shattered.
Yeah, that's something
you're
I've actually
fragmented.
was still working for. I was brought attention to it a while ago about how there's no such thing as multitasking. There's only splitting your attention between 2 things, 3 things,
That's right.
and really you're not actually getting more done. You know, you just look at this thing, change your attention, go back to this, and you reset again. So really, you're just going slower and you're building up stress. So
That's right. That's a
Yeah.
good insight, you know, because multitasking is often now seen as quite a skill, doing several things at once. But I
Yeah.
think it feels more like what you said. You split yourself off. You're able to split yourself into all these different ways. You're fragmented, but you're not actually with anything yourself. You know, you're not interacting on the same level. Because if I still am going back to that dial on the old phone, and how I took such pleasure. I mean, okay, I was probably 10 or 9 or 10 or something, but I really did take pleasure in watching the dial pass by all the numbers, because it had a certain speed. It didn't go fast. It was it was slow, especially compared to nowadays. And it was kind of fascinating. I'd be fascinated by it, and I had time to watch it. And I had time to engage with it, and I had time to let my imagination go.
You were one with it.
There was one. Well, if you like.
Yeah.
If you like, in a kind of crazy way. Yes, it gave you time to be with it, to observe it, and to be fascinated. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm certainly fascinated with life, you know, and hopefully always will be. But I'm not sure if other minds that are so distracted have the time to be fascinated. Or are they just operation? Is it on an operating mode?
They're thinking about the next thing rather than being in the mode of what they're actually doing.
Very much so.
Yeah. I used to do that, particularly when I was cooking. Cooking can be quite therapeutic, you know, meditation, but sometimes I would just be rushing through it because I wanted to do the next thing, you know. And it's really quite stressful. So.
Yeah, because it's that time thing, isn't it? You know, I've only got time for this and I haven't really got time for that. Hence, everything is about convenience, and that's where it's killing us, convenience.
Yeah, it goes back to trying to get to the end goal without enjoying the process of actually getting to it, you know. So there we go.
But do you see how that is full circle, in a sense? I'm not talking about the dial now, or maybe I am. But, you know, just the fact that we've sat down together, we don't know each other very well, on many conventional levels we don't know each other very well. But we've talked, and suddenly we've got into some conversation that we didn't even intend to have, so we weren't that attached to the outcome. Sorry for those wanting to hear about the full circle, but I'm sure we'll get around to it. But there's a connect. You see how?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of communicating what you're trying to do.
It's the time. It's taking the time out, and it's actually, although there is a great website page up on the internet, so of course you can go to the screen. Our intention is to get you off there as fast as possible.
Get people face to face.
Exactly. So really, the Full Circle project is a resource hub. That was really why it's there. Its conception was as a resource hub for people. And you don't have to be in a group to use it. Obviously, you can just be you. You can go as an individual person, or as a group, or as part of the larger group. Go to the Full Circle site and find out what's going on with the topic of concern. If you have an issue of concern in your community, and that could be, for instance, it could be a group of parents who are concerned about the vaccination issue. Do they or don't they? They need more information, and they'd also just like to talk about it and not just get their information from a screen or from an authority or from their doctor. They need, somebody more easy to relate to. Another parent, another mother. Especially if it's in their location, they'll already feel they have a lot in common. That they're familiar. There's a familiarity about it, and there's an authenticity to it. It's real, and in the end, nothing that happens on the screen is real.
Well, you never really know what you're reading is true anyway. A lot of people just take it for granted as it comes from an authority figure. think that's part of the real problem, really. People are just believing everything they read, and as we know, it's not necessarily all true. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Because is it not the case? I mean, I can only speak for myself, but when you meet someone and you face to face and you're sitting with them, there's a whole energetic information there. There's all sorts of body language. There's all kinds of looks and glances and connections and movements, and there's breath, and there's everything there that's about life. You know, this is real. You know, you're real. Aren't you? You're warm. There you go. I know you're. You know, I can touch you.
Yeah.
I can touch you. There's a connection there. And that connection, whether we're intending to or not, I think transmits something much more than our words can.
Yeah.
And that's what we're missing too on the screen.
I think that's why I can't really believe politicians much anymore, because I look at their body language, I look at the way they speak, they don't smile much. They're reading off a piece of paper, and it's not authentic. There's no passion behind it. I think, why believe them? You know. When I speak to somebody like you, there's actually feeling behind the words, and it allows me to connect to it, and I can kind of pull truth out of that. You know, there's a lot of the speakers this weekend were like that too. You know, that allows me not to be skeptical about them, because I just kind of feel where they're coming from. You know, it's coming from a place of passion and feeling, and that's what helps me connect to the truth, if you see what I mean.
Totally. And when you're speaking, Liam, that makes me think it doesn't even matter so much whether we agree with them or not. You know, if you feel someone's passion, you know, someone like Ken O'Keefe, you can't miss his passion.
Yeah.
But everyone that spoke this weekend were passionate about their subjects, because they've taken those issues and they've explored them because they were passionate about them. They wanted to know. And that's what's transmitted through the way that they're speaking there so openly at the Open Mind Conference, you know, within an atmosphere where people are ready to receive them, where perhaps in other circumstances they've been rejected. Here they're being received, so they can let their passion out. And with that kind of energy comes their truth. And it can only ever be their truth.
Yeah.
Can't it? It's not to say, right, that's right or that's wrong. Just listen to that person's point of view, and don't perhaps be in a hurry to judge it. Just receive it. And where does that fit with you? How does it sit with you? Where does it resonate? Does it activate something that's dormant? Because I feel this life force inside of us is encouraged to be dormant. It's not encouraged to be, set on fire. Because then we'd all be outstanding individuals. We'd all be unique individuals if we really let our fire.
I think what's happened is everyone's been kind of distracted from their path through all the materialistic things, sex, the money. And it's really difficult to kind of reconnect to it. And everyone has a different way of doing that. Everyone's got their own path. So. Yeah.
Right, so I'll try and bring it back to full circle, just because the conversation's great, but we can see how these kind of ideas, from wherever they come from, I mean, we didn't start out with this idea, but we're exploring. I feel like we're explorers then on the path of life. We're having an adventure. I mean, that's much more fun to me than having it all mapped out. I don't want my life mapped out, thank you, Google.
Yeah.
I don't want my whatever it's called to guide me through life. American Indian tribes do it. Think in 7 generations. What you do now is going to affect 7 generations ahead. And what 7 generations did of your ancestors. What are you doing with this future, with this moment now? You know, this puts you on a time, on a timeline that's very different to just being.
That goes back to what we were saying before about people trying to get to the next stage too quick, when it's making them short-sighted. They're not seeing their actions through the eyes of time. Yeah, and
really nicely put, exactly. And it's a waste of the investment of your energy. You're an energetic body, you're an energetic vehicle, you're a vehicle for expression of energy, your expression of energy. Well, how are we investing that? If you think it's an investment. Mostly, if it's money we're talking about, we would probably consider how we invest our money. Although these days there's not much to invest, so perhaps that's a good thing. But what we do have, and we always have, and what we have to really cultivate here is energy. Our energy and how and where we invest it, with what intention, with what outcome. Because if we don't pay attention to that, someone else does. And I feel they are. That's what's being harvested in a way through so many clever ways. Is our greatest resource is our freedom to express ourselves for who we truly are. That's a massive energy. I mean, that's everything.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I think people's attention and energy is being directed into places that's not necessarily helpful for them or their children.
And if I see people sort of on an operation mode, I see them almost becoming robotic. And I really see that this is an intention behind the way our energy is being harvested and invested, and the whole kind of the propaganda, everything everywhere is about, it's good to be mechanized. It's good, it's more efficient. It's very much about efficiency of the machine.
It's all about growth.
To me, it's a machine mind that's controlling us, and this is not good. Not in my mind. Not in my mind is not a machine mind yet, and I will resist it. Because as much as I admire certain ways of being efficient, there's a time and a place. And I don't want my life occupied with efficiency, thank you. That's not my choice. If someone else does, okay, but be free to have that choice. Don't sweep us all up.
Be free to look and reflect and look at the consequences of what you're actually doing.
If you want, you have to be free to choose what you do.
Everyone has to make the decision for themselves. Not really do it for them.
Exactly. We can't. What right have we got? It comes back to that conversation that we've often been having over this weekend as well, because people have been given time to reflect. They've had information coming in from several different sources, so it's not like there's one person there dictating how things are. There's not even one guru there. There's several, which is great. So they've got different perspectives, they've got information coming in, they've had time to digest it, and they've also had precious time with people in a magical environment to express how they feel. Their worries, their concerns, the things they don't understand, the things they don't agree with, and hear responses, considered responses to that, not feel under attack, not feel judged, not feel that they can't speak out, not feel that they can't cry if they have to, or sleep on a sofa if they have to. You know, some of us, and speakers included, we needed to lie down. So there's a sofa, lie down, and I'll bring a blanket. This shows care. This shows care for your...
It's funny how doing something like so natural like that has become something people judge and like analyse, you know?
God, what's you doing?
Yeah.
Sleeping on a sofa and she's there with a blanket over. Why not? Who's asking the question, you know?
I remember once when I was at university in a halls, I used to brush my teeth in the shower. One of the girls in my flat was like, what are you doing? Why are you brushing your teeth in the shower? I'm like, why is that so unusual? It's like people have these kind of conceptions of how everything should be done, and it's really not natural.
That's really, really interesting, because I was in the bathroom as well this morning. Yeah. I think a bathroom is a very interesting place to be for ideas and insights, because maybe it's to do with being stripped off often, stripped down. Yeah. No one else is there, usually. Not always, but we'll leave that one for another day. But you're stripped down, you're with yourself, you know, extra bits and bits you'd rather not see, but you're there, you're with yourself, so you're kind of accepting yourself, or not. It's good, helpful if there's not so many mirrors around, you know, you're there, maybe you're cleansing in some way. Water's very cleansing, soothing. I just think that a lot of time, that's maybe the only time we get to ourselves these days is in the bathroom for a few minutes. And yeah, an insight that came to me, because you were speaking about the kind of constriction and the restriction about concepts, where you're not, was that right? I lost track now. I think you were talking about the restriction of certain concepts when you were brushing your teeth in
Yeah,
the shower.
that people
and
have
that
a
was
conceived notion of how things should be done, and
That
if
was it.
somebody differs from it, they almost feel like that person's doing something wrong. Like you were saying, someone's sleeping on the sofa
yes,
in a public place.
yes,
Why is that so unusual to
yes,
people?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That sort of the way that we structure our minds. You know, that we put everything into boxes and label it because it's more convenient to do it that way. And the kind of lifestyle that many of us are being required to live, again, if we don't stop and think about it, who's requiring us to live that way? These boxes are our cages, aren't they? They're cages in our minds, and they keep us trapped in concepts. And to try and come back to the full circle, the idea there is to raise people out of those boxes, or dismantle the boxes, perhaps even, because they're only perceptions. I mean, I don't think there's any physical box there.
I was about to bring it back to the Full Circle Project too, and I think it's a great way for people to look at their own belief systems, look at the boxes they're living in, and be with people who can help support them and challenge them in that way too, which is really good.
Yeah.
So what's the Full Circle Project's website?
Okay, it's fullcircleproject.net. You can go there, you'll find there's a vehicle there called the Community Connector. There's instructions there, steps, how to use it, and you can go and play with that and see who's in your area. Also sections for other events. I mean, the Open Mind Conference was on the events there. There are events happening all over the world. You have the facility to put up your own local event. It's very much about connecting to people as we've done now. I mean, no doubt if we were living in this area, we'd probably want to meet up again and bring friends and connect back onto the website, and maybe we'd be interested in finding out about geoengineering or something like this, and we'd find there was some really interesting talks by Dane Whittington, and then perhaps we would understand that there was going to be an interview with him, and we'd listen to that. But we might also do something else, and perhaps if there's time I'll explain to you about what's been happening with Full Circle in Spain, which is where I live, because I was bringing people together in a space where they could enjoy themselves, first and foremost, because I know that a lot of this information is difficult for people to handle. And unless you're in a space where you feel safe and where you can relax and you can literally take off your mask and leave it at the door and come as you are, then you're not very receptive. You're already resistant because you're not relaxed. So energetically speaking, you're not open. And for this information to sink into the right places in the right way, so as not to create more fear, which I think is often why it's put there in the first place, in the way it's presented, is to actually generate more fear. If you can enable people to relax and open and feel this sense of trust with the people that you're with, then you can receive really any amount of information or energy, and it will filter. Your filtering mechanism is working. And you can kind of discard things that either are not relevant or not making sense, or you can digest things that are kind of, interesting, tasty, but you need time to digest them. Or you can just receive them and recognize them immediately. You see, so you've got all these levels on which you're working in an energetic way to receive information. When it's given through voice, or through some sort of transmission, preferably through voice, or music, or any other kind of real resonance, something that's resonating, you've got an energetic understanding now. I mean, that's knowledge, isn't it? That's not information, digital, binary code or something, as far as I can see. It's a living energy that you can, your body can decode.
Yeah, the project's a great way to kind of break down people's barriers in that way, you know. Allow people to let down their defences and be comfortable in the group that they're with, and not feel like they're being attacked or judged or analysed. So,
or categorised or boxed or labelled or any other things that we do to be more efficient, because that's the machine mind at work. See, the machine mind is taking over. and it really is. It's not just a concept. No, there would. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but from my investigations, from my understandings of where things like transhumanism are going, and yeah, where the whole kind of the technocracy, if you like, is taking us. This is into a technical era, a machine mind, and
Yeah, I mean, things have changed so much in like the last 50 years, and it makes you wonder how far can it really go.
As far as we allow it, it's already there, and I think most of us are not aware.
We're getting to dangerous inflection points. Yeah, wow, thank you.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed it.
Got a little bit covered in sawdust.
Yeah.